Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Marketing Mindset Mastery Podcast with your host, Marie Mason. Oh, we've got a great guest for you today, and don't want to miss it. So our guest is going to be Ari Galper, and you are going to want to hear what he has to say because he's going to be sharing some great tips and ideas on how to make your marketing and mindset work for you and how to set up your business for success. And he's going to share a special sales message for you today. So if you're having trouble with selling your content, this is someone who is going to help you. So stick around for some action steps that you can apply, plus some great gifts from our show. And don't forget to hit that notification bell and the thumbs up whenever you guys hit the thumbs up on our YouTube channel. It is much appreciated and cannot wait. So anyway, really quick, don't have a whole lot of tips for you today, but I will want to ask you this. I think what we're going to talk about for today is going to be really short and sweet. And I want to know, because we're talking about sales, what are your sales goals? What are like your financial sales goals? You know, the money part, right? I'm kind of curious about what it is that your goals are shooting for this year. Okay. The other question I want to ask you is, what are your clients served goals? Okay. And then what are your what's another good goal to have for your business? How many people, what are your connection goals? I think that's the best way to do it. Because let's face it, if you don't have connections and people that you're talking to, then those are like your people you're putting in your pipeline. Then what is it that's really worth, what's worth it in your business? So if you're not putting enough people in your business, you need to know how it is. You need to check on the following things. You need to check on what are the number of connections that you're doing. You need to figure out how many clients you're serving. And then you need to figure out how many what's the financial number that you're looking at that you want to earn for this year. So you need to, in order to track that, it starts with the connections. I know it's a little hard to explain this sort of goals. I'm kind of doing this one on the fly today because wasn't prepared as much as I normally am for the show, but wanted to give you a few quick questions to ask you. So today's were basically sales questions. Now, whether or not our guest will answer those, I don't know. I might ask him to do that as well. But I would like to offer a free offer. If you would like to do a quick business assessment on your business to see where you're at, and we can even talk about your sales goals as well, please go to calendly.com/Marie V. Mason. And I promise you it will be the best 30 minutes you will invest in your business. So without further ado, let's bring up our guest. He is Ari Galper. He is the world's #1 authority in trust-based selling, which is the method we're going to actually talk about today, which is what I like. And who is the author of several books all the way from Sydney, Australia. He is the owner of UnlockTheGame and here's a great quote: "The act of selling with multiple steps has completely been reinvented and anchored in trust through his trust-based selling system." So today's topic is how to double your sales with the trust-based selling system. Now, how about that for irony right there? But seriously, you are going to have a load of information today. So get your notebooks out, buckle up, because here we go. We're going to be introducing our guest, and he is going to talk about his sales process. So let's bring up Ari. So come on down, Ari. Hi, Ari. Come on down.
Okay.
So my son's walking in the door right as we're talking, so timing is always everything. But he knows when I'm doing a recording, he'll be quiet, right?
Sure.
So anyway, but no, I was just asking the audience today in my free top tip. I had some sales questions, and I asked them what are their financial goals, what are their clients number of clients that they serve goals, and what are their connection goals. And then I worked my way backwards and said, it's always good to start with the connections because that's you fill your pipeline with connections. Am I right? And then they lead to clients, and then they lead to your financials. So it's kind of like a ripple effect. So I don't know, was that sort of spot on for yours? Those are the kinds of questions that you ask your clients as far as what their sales goals are? Or
Yeah, I mean, they really have to get really clear though on who their ideal client is, so they're not stocking their pond with the wrong customers. So it's about being more precise about that as well.
right, exactly. Good point. And that is something that if you don't have clarity on who there is, it's going to be harder to create that marketing message that will attract your ideal clients. You know, you want to be able to speak to the right person, right? You're not trying to have everybody and their brother and their sister because you only have so many hours in the day. But you want that right person for you. And I keep telling people they are out there. You just have to keep turning over enough rocks, but you might have a better way to help us find that solution quicker. So on today's show. So I'm super excited. I wanted to show I was reading. I'm really loving this. I've got more of them I've got to read because you sent me a whole box. So if anyone ever gets a box from Ari, you're in for a treat. Literally. So I'm going to actually showcase some of that, if that's okay, to our audience, so they know that when you're getting something very professional. I still have yet to unearth this one, so this is a video, correct?
Yep.
Can you tell me about the video real quick? We're going to do a little.
Yeah, it's a video book that basically walks you through different stories of people who have been mastered a trust-based selling, doing very well with it, pretty much.
So good case studies. That's awesome. And then you also have this one, which is the Trust Authority. And is that another sales-based focused?
Yeah, it's a way to position yourself as an authority in your market. So you're seen as a category of one, not a commodity.
Awesome. So make you stand out, basically. So
yeah.
And we all need that because there's so much noise out there. Exactly. And then you have some great success stories in this particular book, correct?
Yeah, every industry now using our approach, exactly.
Excellent. And then you didn't know I was going to do this. You never know what you're going to do on this. And then this was really cute. A picture of is Toby. Can you tell us who Toby is?
He's my son, Toby, and he was when he was born, we were told that he had Down syndrome, and at first we didn't know what that meant to our lives. And we realized we had a gift on our hands. If you know someone has Down syndrome, they're very special people. They're very loving, transparent, very open, no hidden agenda, and he's influenced me in my life and my approach to sales. And so I wrote a book about him called Lessons from Toby.
Now, I love it because we can all learn from our children, right? And our pets. But so far, the one I've been reading is this one. It's been my favorite so far. But then, of course, I haven't read the rest of them yet. So I take a while to go through and dissect things because I'm the old school person. You can take the girl of the school, but not the other way around. So anyway, but I love it because you are really diving deep into your sales fund system that we're talking about today, correct?
Yep.
I mean, okay, good. So that's some little hints. Whenever I have people on my show and they're bringing books into the picture, I always want to make sure I highlight their books because I feel like it's important to know that they are real, they're professional, and they really have a product that's really phenomenal. So, and I could not wait to get that finished reading. So I'm in the process of finishing that up. But oh my gosh, super excited to have you here and talk about these topics. So clearly you are really passionate about sales. Is that right? You want to tell me about that?
Well, I am in a different way. So what I have done is redefine the definition of what selling is.
Okay.
See, people have grown up to believe it's all about presenting, persuading, convincing, chasing people. It's a one-way street. And that's caused a lot of damage and pain over the years. It's become a very dysfunctional communication process in itself, because there's a lot of inauthenticity in that. And so what I have done is redefine or reinvented selling in a different way, around using deep trust with people, where they feel connected to you at a deep level. And it's not about your solution anymore. It's instead about their problem, like a doctor-patient relationship. So it's a different way of thinking about it, different framework, different mindset that allows you to really feel that they and you connect at a deep level, as opposed to feeling like they're being sold.
Right. So it's really more about needs, finding out they're getting on like a deeper dive on their needs.
It's really doing an x-ray on their problems, like a doctor would. You know, when you go see a doctor and he says to you, where does it hurt? And you say, right over here. He says, let me take a look over here. Oh, wow. Okay, I think I get an x-ray right away to really see what the real problem is. They get an x-ray, they put it on the wall, the light, and it says, now I see the problem. The problem's right there. And do you want to fix it? So it's more with empathy and bedside manner. You're unpacking and peeling back the problem for them to own the problem before you actually offer a solution.
No, that's perfect. Before offering, because I think what it is we're so quick to offer a solution, and and while they're answering your questions, you're thinking of the answer before you give them time to digest.
Correct.
So, yeah, so I'm spot on that, and I think that's one of the biggest mistakes I think salespeople have. And I've been on so many different calls, and they want to get to the end result, and sometimes they rush through it without really taking the time to find out if this person really needs it, because they're desperate enough, they want to make a sale. But it's not about making a sale, it's about making sure it's the right fit. Is that correct?
That's the whole approach, is fit or no fit. So you're the one selecting them. They aren't selecting you anymore.
Right. So you're filtering them out, basically filtering them out in. Because I think that's important to understand. So that would be like the basis of what we're going to focus on today. So excellent. No, that's perfect. So I'm curious. I'm always curious about those questions, because you just never know. You always like to get the insight for that. Then I guess the next question is, what are some common sales myths? We kind of touched a little bit, like this selling persuasion and the chasing. Would you like to kind of do a little deeper dive on that?
Sure. There's a few sales myths we should probably clear out before we move forward. And the first one is the idea that sales is a numbers game. That's a pretty common idea, where the more contacts you make, supposedly the more opportunity you create for yourself. Well, we discovered it's not about how many contacts you make anymore. It's about how deep you go on each conversation, how good you are at trust building, not how good you are, how many contacts you made. That's the first myth. The second myth is the idea that the sale is lost at the end of the process. You know, you've been there before, I'm sure. We had an opportunity pending and all of a sudden it just disappeared. And you're like, what happened? They were perfect for me. We were such a good fit. Where did they go? Well, we discovered the sale's not lost anymore at the end of the process. It's now lost at the beginning, at hello. So if someone calls you on the phone and says to you, hi, my name is, I'm with, we are a, what goes through your mind in about 3 seconds?
Right. So I guess that first impression really makes a difference, right?
Yes, and it can't be sales oriented.
Right. It's got to be heart centered, right?
It's got to be trust based. Yeah.
Right. And I think what it is when you get those calls, you can tell by the language, right?
Yes.
I think we need to hit home on this one. It's all in how you present yourself. If you're saying the same old scripts that everybody else is using that talks about the persuasion and the chasing, you're going to lose your clients. But if you do it from a heart-centered approach and find out more about them up front, you're most likely going to get a better answer. Is that correct? That paint the picture, right?
Okay. Yeah. So we developed our own trust-based languaging. Words and phrases used to replace sales scripting. It's unnatural. And we'll discuss some examples you like today as well.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And I think we even have that as one of the questions, I think. So trust-based selling. We'll say trust-based words, because I think the whole point is really focusing on making sure that you create that real relationship with them. Because let's face it, it's relationships that sell, stories sell, but relationships that you build will last a lifetime. It doesn't matter what you're working on. If you're selling them tickets to see the Pope, for example, not that that would be something that people would sell for, but just as an example, they'll be willing to buy from you because you've developed that trust. So it's not about what you're selling or your offer so much as what it is, the words that you're using to create that heart-based centered approach, which aligns really well with what we focus on Liberty Virtual Solutions and also my Strategy Lady Academy as well. So this is like spot on. I appreciate that. So the next question is, what is the story behind your trust-based selling? And we are going to ask for some of those at some point. We're going to ask some questions about the trust-based words to use. So as well at some point.
Well, the story starts with Toby, you know, my son, when he was born, and we discovered he had Down syndrome, and we discovered how beautiful he is and how transparent he is and how loving he is, and he has no hidden agenda. And I took that, the way he views the world, and brought that over to my approach. And that became the principles behind what we do, to help people approach their sales process in the way he would do it, with authenticity, focusing on them, not pitching, not presenting, not putting your agenda on their agenda. That's the story behind the premise behind our philosophy.
That's brilliant. And it's simple and it's easy to remember too. So no, I love it. I guess the next question is, what are the core principles behind your approach?
Yeah, so one core principle is the idea of always be diffusing pressure, taking the pressure out of the conversation with people. And I'll give you an example using our trust-based languaging. Let's say you're on a call with somebody for the first time, and there could be a potential client, and the call is going well, good chemistry, looks like a good fit, and the call kind of comes to a close. Normally what we say are things like, hey, how about we move forward, have a next step, send you a demo, have a product, you know, we try and move them towards a sale. Well, if you do that with someone, you could potentially break trust with them if they don't trust you yet. So in our approach, in this same scenario, here's how we handle it. Call goes well, call comes to a close. Rather than saying, hey, how about we move forward? What we say instead is this. We say, where do you think we should go from here? And I'll say it again. Where do you think we should go from here?
So you're putting it back in their court, basically.
Yep. When you say that to somebody, what happens is, first of all, they're usually in a state of shock. They can't believe somebody would ask them what they want to do, because they're so used to a sales situation where they're being pulled down a process. And then what happens is the truth comes out. They say things like, well, I've got one more question. Well, what about this? And the truth emerges, and that's your goal. Your goal is the truth, to see if you're a fit or not. Because you can't penetrate that top layer of the iceberg, as I call it. You go down the iceberg to a level of truth with people. You'll always be playing game with them and always chasing them.
Good point. No, I think that's quite well explained. So perfect. Thank you for that. And then how would you sit there and say, instead of having a demo, or would you like to have a video, what would be another heart-centered kind of option for that?
Well, what you can say is, you can say, would you be open? Ask permission first. Would you be open to us scheduling a time to have me walk you through how I can help you?
So that's a good point, because I think too often we assume that they're going to do it, and instead asking permission is the key. Is it's just like, what's the word I'm looking for? You ask permission to a client whether or not you can use their testimonial for your advertising. So you need to ask permission if they for talking to them, because you know people always assume that because you're at home, you're free And that's not always the case. So it's actually kind of showing a sign of respect, right? A sign of respect there. So that's brilliant. Is there another example you could give us for that, for changing the words around?
You can also say things like, would it make sense if
Okay,
we discuss some ideas that might be able to help you? It's always about asking permission. Would you be open? Does it make sense? That's the approach that we use to build trust with people. It's respectful for them.
got it. So it's literally all about the way you word things, like we stated earlier.
Yes, exactly.
It's not even about how you position yourself, offer even, it's literally about how you talk to them and treat them with respect. So that's a good point. So what
Yeah.
are what are you mentioned some of the other one of the common sales myths, and then I was going to ask you to see if you can talk a little bit more about them. Trying to recap what we were saying. The old sales myth is it's a numbers game. We talked about that. So what is the in sales is a loss at the loss at the in the beginning and not at the end. So is there, I know you have more in the book. Would you like to
There's one more, and that is that sales rejection is part of the process. You have to accept it. Well, we discovered that rejection actually is triggered by certain things you say and do that cause the other person to actually push back on you. So some of the triggers are the language that you use, the words that you use, your delivery of how you say things, like rather than saying, where do you think we should go from here? Instead, you say, where do you think we should go from here? So you lower your voice, you're more calm, and you're more centered. And that allows them to engage inside your world, as opposed to if you are too over energetic and too excited too early on, you'll lose them.
so being too eager deters them, right?
That's correct.
Gotcha. No, that's brilliant. So how about, I'm kind of curious about this, but what about people's postures? And because you talked about tone of voice, when it comes about tone of voice, when you talked about lowering your voice. So so I'm just taking notes while we're going there.
Yeah,
So
so the delivery is an important component of this, because you can use scripts and words all day long, but they don't feel like you're authentic. They won't connect with you. That's why, we've been taught over the years to be enthusiastic about what we do, be excited with people, and your enthusiasm will draw them to you and give you money. You'll be so, well, you know what? Unfortunately, it doesn't work anymore, because people could tell if they don't trust you and you're over enthusiastic too early in the process, they'll say to themselves, all she wants to do is sell me something.
right.
So the reverse of that is to stay calm, relax, and breathe, and focus in on them and not you.
Good point. And focus more on them. Yeah, good point. Because in the end, you want to, you're in a sense, whenever you're on a sales call, you're always having, it's not just, I think we stated this earlier, it's really a two-way street. You're trying to sit there and interview them to see if they're a right candidate for you, but they're looking to see if you're the right fit too. And that's something that people tend to forget. So I totally understand where you're coming from on that. So I think we have a couple more questions.
Sure.
What is the story behind the trust-based selling? I think we kind of talked a little bit about that in your what's passionate, but I am kind of curious. How did you get it? How did it come around? Was it you talked about the book about your autistic son, about the lessons you
Yes,
learned from him? And
Down,
is that how it
syndrome.
got started?
Down syndrome, yeah,
Right. Sorry, Down syndrome. So
exactly.
now is that where the trust-based selling started?
Well, the trust-based selling started, or when I experience happened to me. I had a conference call with a potential client when I was working for a company back then, and we had a great call, and they said they were excited about moving forward. And at the end of the call, we said our goodbyes, and I hit the mute button rather than the off button. They thought I hung up the phone. They kept talking, thinking I left the call. And I heard them say things like, we're not going to go with him, keep using him, keep drag him along the process, get him to use cheaper solutions. It was the opposite of what they told me. They lied to me. And that was the story when I realized I'm done with being lied to and having games being played. I've got to figure out a way to get people to feel comfortable getting to the truth and being open to saying where they stand without any repercussions. That's where I came up with my whole concept, Unlock the Game, which is a shift your thinking away from the sale and to have people create enough trust, or you create trust with them so they feel vulnerable enough to tell you where they stand, so both of you don't have to play the game anymore. That's the story behind that.
Good deal. I'd love to get on a call with you at some point and have you demo the calls with me. I think you probably have in some ways, but I'm kind of curious if I can get like a real demo from you. It'd be good to have an example of that as well. Because this is the approach, like I said, that I'm trying to focus in on, both teaching my students and working with my clients. So anyway, that's brilliant. So the next question I have is, what are the core principles behind the approach? And I was going to follow up with, what are your values, or are they the same?
Yeah, they're the same. I mean,
Okay.
one core principle is the idea of diffusing pressure. The other core principle is always being problem-centric, not solution-centric. And what I tell my clients is you have to fall out of love with your solution and fall in love with your client's problems. Because that makes you focus on them and their world. And when you do that, they bounce back and say to you, they say to themselves, she just gets me. She understands me. Something about her feels so different because she's not trying to sell me something. She's trying to connect with me. And that's the real shift, is to focus in on their issues and not your solution first.
Right. So treat them like a human being, basically.
Right, not a prospect.
Sorry, I'm being sarcastic there, but what a concept. But it's so true. People are so used to, like I said, they're so used to getting the numbers, and they're so used to getting the sale, and they're so used to doing these old methods,
Yeah.
like the persuasion techniques. And I had a partner at one point, a business partner at one point, and his big focus was, we need to get the sale at the first try. And we're like, it doesn't always work that way, because people aren't
Exactly.
always ready. And sometimes you need to give them that time to process that information. And if
Yeah.
you're expecting to get people on the first try, then you're not doing the right approach. And we had differences of opinion in that decision. And so I stopped having him on the sales calls with me, because
Right.
like, I could have gotten these people if I had just done my approach originally. But
Exactly.
and and that's another thing, when you're working people, make sure that they follow your methods. I'm just going to say
Yes.
that up front. But no, this is actually very brilliant information, and you're so
Right.
fast at everything too. So I was going to say, is there any other kinds of like action steps that you want for your takeaways that our audience can apply? Is there some special tip that you
Look,
want?
I think the big idea here is they need to stop selling
Right.
and build trust instead. That is a shift in thinking, because we do it at home naturally with our kids and spouses. When we get to work, we put what we call sales armor on. We protect ourselves for battle. We get ready for the bullets, and we change who we are. We start getting uncomfortable. We start to pitch. We start to sell, and then it just doesn't work out. We're like, this is so hard. So you got to make that shift. If you want some help, reach out and we'll help you.
Yeah, perfect. No, because the old methods just clearly don't work. And I'm going to ask you another follow-up question, because we have a little bit of time.
Sure.
When it comes to doing your sales,
Yes.
where is it that you send them? Do you at the end of the sales, do you send them to a specific link? Is it also, and is it based on and how is it looking like? Is it based on their answer? I mean, do you do different things it's not a cookie cutter concept. I'm just thinking, because when you're doing a heart-centered method, you're doing it based on what they're saying. So that's what I'm saying. So let's face it, let's say someone is not quite ready to move forward with you, but they want more information. Do you do like a follow-up call with them, or how's your, like, what is your,
Well, I'm working on a new book right now called The One Call Sale,
okay,
where there is no next step, meaning you either onboard them or you don't. If they say they need more information, that's a smokescreen for saying, I don't trust you yet. You see, you got to go back to the source of the problem. And if you can build trust with somebody on one conversation and get to the truth of where they're at, and you ask them this question, here it is this a priority for you to solve once and for all? That's a very deep question. And they say, yes, it is. Then you can walk them through your approach, your offer, and you can onboard them right there on the spot. There is no follow-up. There is no next step, because if you're getting objections and pushback and you're getting smoke screens like that, that means you did something wrong, not them. There wasn't enough trust in your conversation. So what I'm doing here is putting a spotlight on the seller, not the buyer, because all the problems emanate from us, because we're still doing things that trigger the other person to put their guard up.
gotcha. No, that's brilliant. One of my other podcast guests actually has a I think it's an app or a website, but he's developed something where he can analyze their scripts that they're using for their sales pitches and your behaviors and the client's behaviors, and tell you what needs to be fixed and adjusted, which is an amazing thing. So just something I wanted to share with you, and we can talk about that later. But oh my gosh, is there a way that you can, if at the end of the call, if they decide not to go forward and they're hesitant and they want another call or something, how can you counteract that? Is there a way to counteract that, or
Well,
is it just let them go?
can do, what you can do is make sure you keep them on the calendar every step of the way. Don't let them drop off to, I'll call you next week and follow up with them, because you don't want to be chasing people. What you can say is you can say, would you be open to us scheduling another conversation on our calendars to avoid us chasing each other back and forth? Would you be open to that?
Okay, perfect. So basically just booking a call from a call, right?
Yeah, using trust-based languaging.
And making sure you get their permission in that
Correct.
sense. Right.
Yeah.
No, that's brilliant. Yeah, I think what it is I kind of do a lot of what you're saying, but the wording is what I need to change.
Correct.
I'm already analyzing in my head. So where do I need to fix? So,
Exactly.
and we're always our own worst critics. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
something you would agree to, but oh my
Sure.
gosh, that's brilliant information. So, and I really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you
So,
so much.
oh, my pleasure. I do have one, you already talked about your future goal because you're writing a new book, and I cannot wait for it to launch. So please let me know when it launches. So I'm looking forward to that. And we can have you back and promote that one. How's that for an option?
Okay.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you before we jump off, all successful business owners have 5 daily success habits in their business. Would you mind telling us some of yours? I mean, just because I think that it might give us a good picture of maybe what we could also use, and depending on, everybody's going to be different, but it might give some people some ideas of maybe what they can use and to help them grow and build their business. So,
Well, you have to have a filter. You
right,
have to, during the day, you have to, and I use the 80-20 principle, right? I decide what decisions do I make today that move the needle in my business. And I also ask myself, what decisions do I have to make today that are at certain levels? So there is, this comes from the book 80-20 Sales and Marketing by Perry Marshall, where he talks about 3 levels of tasks. One is $10 an hour tasks, one is $1,000 hour tasks, and one is $10,000 hour tasks. $10 hour tasks are administration type of work. $1,000 task is actually making a sale, doing a revenue to make your business grow. $10,000 work task is strategizing on how to grow your business at the top level. So I ask myself every day, and where am I spending my time? Am I spending my time on $10 an hour tasks or $10,000 tasks? And that's the thing I think about all the time. Hopefully that helps your people.
No, that's brilliant. Because it's important. And I've heard people say something similar to that. When you're dealing with tasks that take longer than, let's say, 30 minutes or so, or 15 minutes, either outsource it to a tool or a person, because at the end of the day, you need to free up as much of your time to focus on the strategy and help focus on the sales, or focus on something that you really love doing and are passionate about it. Because let's say, face it, you went in business to do what? The one thing you love doing, whatever that is, looks like for you. So in order to do that, you do have to free up that extra time. And I always tell my students to reevaluate where they are in their business with their time. As we have a time and management and productivity chat. And also a budget chat goes along with it too. It's like, where are you spending your time? Where's your money going? Where is your focus? And let's see where we need to tweak it to fix it so that you're focusing on the things you really need to work on. And it's called prioritizing at that point. What is the most important activities I need to do? And it makes sense to do it that way. So that's brilliant. And hopefully you'll be able to give me the link for the name for the author and the book that you mentioned in the chat here, that in the Zoom chat. That'll be great. Then I can add that in there for that later on. So the last thing I really want to ask you, and I want just to expand those things, and I think the daily habits was a great follow-up from what we've been talking about. It's like making those key decisions. So I think the last thing really is, I know you have a special gift for our audience. Would you like to share that with us?
Yeah, look, there's a free intro course that we have. If you go to UnlockTheGame.com, at the top it'll say free course. Watch that hour course, and if it resonates with you, then grab a copy of my book. It's Unlock the Sales Game. It's on the homepage there at UnlockTheGame.com. Get a copy of the book, read it, and look, I think if you're open-minded and you're willing to let go of what you're holding on to, that's how you define selling to be, and you're struggling with this, then you'll have a successful business if you can begin to learn how to do this. And also, by the way, I do a show once a month on LinkedIn called Stump the Guru, where you can jump in live and ask me a question, and actually it'll be 10 minutes from now. So hit me up on LinkedIn, say hello, and look for my show there to ask me a question.
Brilliant. No, and I'm glad we're wrapping up then. So really quickly, I just want to thank Ari Galper, and I make sure I am pronouncing it correct, because I think I had it spelled wrong earlier. I apologize. I am the typo queen. That's why I have someone helping me with that in my team. He's my proofreader, and he's valuable. All my team members are valuable. We'll just leave it alone at that. But you shared some amazing valuable tips on sales today about how to grow the audience in their business, and on the Marketing Mindset Mastery podcast today. And oh my gosh, your topic was on how to double your sales with trust-based selling method, which aligns perfectly with what I teach as well, and what I practice. I now know that I've had to make a few tweaks. So thank you for that tips. Anyway, I do want to encourage you to go to UnlockTheGame.com and check out his free intro course, and do get some of his books. I showed them earlier, but so far my favorite has been Unlock the Sales Game. Highly recommend that book. So there are others that and I can't wait for the new one to come out. So definitely go check him out on LinkedIn. So, and it'll be under Ari Galper. So really quick, do check out the merchandise over at Marketing Mindset Mastery Shop, and then message me and let me know if there's a special teacher you want to send a $5 gift card, because for every $45 backpack that we sell during the school year, a lucky teacher in the US is going to get a gift card so that they can help put towards their supplies. That's our way of giving back to our community. So anyway, we are currently only shipping in the US and the Canada. So we are going to try and be worldwide soon. So if you don't see it yet, please let me know. If you're from a different country that's listed, not listed, please let me know, and I will start opening it up in that country as well. But the gift cards will only go to US teachers. So eventually they will go worldwide. But meantime, Join us again for our next episode for more great tips, ideas, and how to make your marketing and mindset work for you and learn how to set up your business for success. And we stream live on our YouTube channel every Thursday at 11 a.m. So make sure that you hit the like, share, and subscribe button, hit that notification button, and don't miss the next show. So until next time, I'm your host, Marie Basin, and our guest, Ari Galper. And we're saying goodbye from the Marketing Mindset Mastery Podcast. And that ends this week's show. Y'all have a great week. So, and I'm going to see you all next week.